Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. We should be live. Audio check. Let me just quickly check both audios this time to see if it's fairly balanced. I made a horrible mistake last time matching up my audio. So let me just quickly check. I just gotta keep talking and nobody explodes, or keep talking and no one gets deafened. Hang on. Just gotta keep making noise, pause the fucking music, make noise. Just gotta keep making noise, pause the fucking music, make noise. I didn't even hear the music that time, hang on. Is the music coming through? Okay, go and stop. Is the music coming through? Oh, it is. It's just very faint. So I'll turn that up. There, how about that? Is that a bit too high? Let's see. Let's do a simple test now. Pausing the music. Or, yeah, pausing the music just so I can hear it for a second. Let's do a simple test now. Pausing the music. Or, yeah, pausing the music just so I can hear it for a second. That should work. Alright, perfect. Perfect. Hopefully this is louder than before. It sounds louder. Alright. You know the drill. Backrooms. Let's roll. I have an idea for a... what is it? I have an idea. I just gotta remember what it is. Oh yeah. So, I'm just gonna play this music just for a little bit, but tonight, I did enjoy like that type of jungle, breakcore, drum and bass music that I found yesterday, or not yesterday, last stream, but I had an idea for a couple weeks now to add to the eerie vibes of this unholy fucking place. I shall put on some classic creepypasta readings. That's something I thought of, and I feel like it's also maybe I can commentate on stuff, because I did find last stream kind of hard to talk, even though I was focusing on getting everything done and to a decent scale. It's still not that scale. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Just gotta follow my own map here for a second. I'm gonna get down to where the telephone is and that jump scare, and then I'll work specifically on this area here, just to kind of make it a decent square. So what do and I do not have mapped out? A lot, it seems. Well, we can start simply with these walls. These walls matched up with anything? Are a little bit behind the void. I'll put them fairly close to the void. Are these connected? Oh, this is okay. This is a different type of wall. I thought this was Okay, it's just a simple L shape. I can work with that. I can work with that. Alright, let's change the music, shall we? I want to put on this creepypasta that... Oh god. Hang on, I gotta find it. Why am I getting recommended Lego Guardian of the Galaxy Groot? Forcing my friend. The curse is real. Oh no. Oh god, someone put... Okay. So there is this old creepypasta. What the fuck? Okay, this is... I'm going down a fucking ancient ass memory hole, I guess. Like old creepypastas and just creepy stuff, and I guess people still, talk about it because the creepypasta I want to play first is VRChat because the video I know the most of is by Creeps Mix Pasta, and it only has 388k views, even though I swear it had more. And it was uploaded several years ago, and I I don't think that many people know about it. I don't think it's that popular of a creepypasta. It's not really a lost episode at creepypasta. It's more like a game creepypasta. So if someone puts like a board game, and it's fucking it fucking scared me because you know what, the video will explain itself. I'll just play it in the background and I'll get to work. I don't want to stare at this.
This is a sneak attack from the rat. Who's go?
Is this louder than me?
Who's about to have a throw? Say cheese.
Ever heard of Nightmare? Like a lot of games in
Hang
the
on.
90s, it came to a
I gotta do
VHS
an audio
which you
check. Hang
timed
on.
with your play. The character on the video would give you instructions on what to do while you played the game in real time. Being a scaredy cat, I refused to play it when my mom bought it for us.
Hello?
My brother was disappointed about not being able to play Nightmare, but my mom had a solution. She brought out VRChat. Dingy little thing, catered to kids my age. You went around the board,
I'll
collected
just put
cheese,
it down
and
a little bit
the first player to reach
because it
the
does
end
sound a
would win.
bit louder.
It seemed simple enough, and since it reminded us of Mousetrap, which we didn't have, there were no objections. We popped the movie into the VHS and set up the board. The first part of the video was just a simple explanation of the rules, as well as instructions on how the game worked. Then, VRChat came onto the TV. He was not what any of us had been expecting. My smaller brother, who was only 3 at the time, immediately left the room crying.
He fucking died, dude.
The rat did not even resemble a rat.
He died.
The ears were far too big, and it had a mouth lined with 2 teeth, and the inside of the mouth looked almost swollen. The most striking part about the thing, though, was the eyes. They were large,
I gotta fix that.
glassy, and
Whoops.
fish-like.
There we go.
I asked, then bothered, then begged my mom to turn it off. VRChat suddenly shouted loudly, screaming and wailing, saying, "Wait your turn!" in a demonic, low-pitched voice that was not at all like his normal, obnoxious, nasal voice.
Am I still louder than this, even if I'm mumbling to myself?
And
I hope so.
Over and over
I
again
do hope
in
so.
An overly serious tone. The video was indescribable. Images crossed the screen in quick succession, overcut with VRChat's expressionless eyes. The images were some of the things I was afraid of at the time. A person looking over a balcony, a hornet slowly stinging someone's eye, an extreme close-up of a tarantula, a pit full of writhing cobras, and a bloodied syringe filled with green fluid. We immediately turned that video off. I ran out the room screaming, slamming my door. It took my mom 20 minutes to convince me that the video was done,
isn't real, he can't hear you.
I would never, ever see it again.
But he can.
I had nightmares all week
Is this
about
the same?
VRChat. That wasn't the
It's
last
really just a
time I
clone
saw
of itself.
Rat. While my girlfriend and I were preparing to move in together, I was clearing out the closet of my room and found Rat again, with the same
I immediately
VHS
threw
and
it out into
the
the
same
trash and
board
burned
game
it.
inside. It
Threw
was
holy water all
almost
over the place.
perfectly intact, save for a thick layer of cobwebs and dust bunnies on top of it. This was strange. Didn't my mother get rid of it? And what was the game doing in my room? I let out a bit of a gasp when I found it, and my girlfriend came into the room, asking what was the matter. Breathing harshly, I said, Rat. She laughed a bit, asking if it was a joke. I shook my head, explaining that it wasn't.
What's wrong? Are you
She
okay?
didn't believe me. Nobody
Rats.
did. And
It's the rat
we
man.
decided that the only way to
Fucking
prove it to
god
her
damn
was
it.
to show her
I
the
don't want to
video.
mock it because I know
I borrowed my neighbour's
it's creepy.
VHS and played the video for her. However, the images had changed.
Nature's mockery.
I saw a clown, its nose bursting and spraying blood onto the screen. I
It's
saw
filled
a
with
woman
pus.
alone in the dark room. I saw a man being forced to
Glow in
pick
the
up
dark room?
white hot metal and hold it in his outstretched hand, turning his hand
Oh, that reminds me. Wait,
into a leathery mess.
that reminds me. There was a video I saw. I forget who posted it. I think it was Daily Dose of Internet. But there was a video of a man slapping just like molten. There's a word there's a word that describes it. Molten metal. It was molten metal. He just kind of slapped molten metal like really quickly. And I guess the science behind it is that the moisture on your hands, if you slap it fast enough and just don't get any on like your hands or no residue on your hands or whatnot, you're fine. But just don't do it multiple times because that moisture is now gone. Don't don't slap metal. Don't fucking do it.
The scratching I heard as a child
Don't
continued.
slap molten
It got
metal.
louder and louder.
I don't want to get in
Then
charge for that.
Rat showed up and began twisting and convulsing, its arms thrusting this way and that. The costume wasn't a costume anymore.
That's
It felt
what I
of real
imagine that
fur.
looks like is
Its face
when
wasn't
you take
plastic,
like
but
a Kermit
instead
puppet
a
and then
bristle of
just like
thorns with
spin
teeth.
your hand and
The
just
eyes turned
oh fuck.
inwards and suddenly popped out again. Rat's huge fish eyes were inside out, staring right at me, watching my every move, my every expression.
Bloodshot eyes.
It grinned widely and gestured at my girlfriend and I with a single, outstretched, inhuman hand.
Inhuman
I
finger.
could hear the faintest scratching at my front door. The TV went blank and showed static.
Why can't I do this?
The scratching got louder.
I gotta focus.
It wasn't scratching anymore, but thumping. The thumping of
Shit.
tiny feet on wood. My girlfriend embraced me in fear and my senses kicked in.
Don't worry, babe.
Before
I'll
anything
save
else
you
could
from the
happen,
rats.
I stopped the video, ejected it,
The
and
rat man.
unplugged the VHS. The scratching stopped. When I looked out the living room window, nothing was there.
Except for
The
rats.
police showed up soon after,
There's
warning
a
us
dead
that
rat on my
a
step. My
neighbour
cat
had
brought it in
seen
the
a
other day.
figure
I
outside
just
of our
refused to
door
move it.
and had called in concern. My girlfriend and I simply couldn't explain what had happened
Spooky
and
times.
had to tell the police officer that it was us. I was furious that a children's game was terrifying me. I went to pick up the tape,
Trust
but
me.
the
Ever
VHS
played Earthbound?
burned in my hand. It felt like I'd touched a Bunsen burner on the highest setting. We had to get the oven mitts from the kitchen in order to take it out, and
What
even
the
then
fuck?
it was scorching hot. I brought it outside and tossed it on the
You,
sidewalk
you
and crushed
you
it
have the
with my
Rat
winter
logo
boots.
imprinted onto your
My girlfriend
forehand.
and I had nightmares every night. We would both wake up in the middle of the night and describe eerily similar images that we saw in our sleep.
Can't
The
focus, can't
scratching
focus,
would
can't
always
focus.
be there at night, when the lights were turned off and the room was pitch black, save for the moonlight coming through the window.
And then we
Now,
saw
though, the
God damn,
scratching
I'm hearing
would
fucking
happen
noises.
every time I went
It's Rat.
near the front door.
No, it's not. Don't do
And
that.
every time we said Rat's name, it sounded as if something very small was dragging something across the ground outside the door, pacing, waiting. I would simply wait, with the covers pulled up to my neck, until I succumbed to exhaustion.
SpongeBob.
At this point, I was determined to sue the company for damages. The first thing
Sue
I
the
did was
company.
call my mother and ask
You
where she
cursed
got
ass
the rat rap.
motherfuckers. You can't just.
She had no idea.
Is there
I found a
laws?
merchant who sold
There,
various
there
versions
has.
of
Okay,
Rat and
there has to be
asked how I could
laws
get in touch with the
for
company.
selling.
He
I'm,
sent
I'm
me
pausing this.
this
I'm
email.
pausing this. I want to talk. Is there laws for selling cursed items or like cursed games? Like if you got like some sort of witch or warlock just to like do hymns, or I don't even think hymns is the right word, but just to like cast spells on like a conveyor belt. Uh, that's how Ouija boards are made. That's how Ouija boards are made, dude. Um, but is that? But if it actually caused like problems, like there's multiple stories of like, oh yeah, I came home and there's like a man in my house and he just faded. He faded into obscurity. Can you sue? Can you sue a company for that? Like if there's enough, like if there is enough like evidence or like enough dis not distrust, disruption in everyday life, can you sue the company? Or can you like do a thing where it's like, uh, wait, does that mean can you also like sell a cursed item and have it be like genuinely cursed, but you can buy it because you can sign a waiver, be like, I won't sue your ass if Bloody Mary comes out of my mirror and then uses up my fucking loofah. What's a loofah? I don't know. Anyway, play the video.
I don't know about the game, but I know it was created by the same people who created Nightmare. The company is called A Couple of Cowboys. Try them.
Couple of
I did a bit more
fucking
research and discovered that the
full-blood
company became
Texans.
defunct in 1994, only 2 years after the company created RapRat. I discovered why they did soon after. How RapRat came to be.
Place fucking burnt down.
In 1992, the year of the game's development, a couple of cowboys had commissioned a manufacturing company in Haiti to
Couple
create
of
the puppet
yeehaws.
portrayed in the game. The company who created
How
the
big is
puppet
this?
ran a sweatshop where they forced women and children to produce the various components of the puppet, including the felt and the plastic of
I'll
the
check
doll.
on that later once I
One
have
day,
everything.
a young Haitian girl got her arm caught in the industrial
By
sewing
the
machine.
way, there's
The
5
spring
people in the
loader,
chat. Can you
unable to
please tell
handle
me
the
if
weight of the
the
machine,
audio is good or
came
not?
loose and struck the girl's neck, killing her
Can you hear me?
instantly.
Can you hear
A few days after the funeral,
that?
the
I
mother
don't
of the
want to say
child
its name.
came to the factory demanding to
Or
see the owner,
Creepypasta
who
Man.
denied that he had anything to do
There's
with
something
it.
else I don't want to say.
In a fit of rage, the
Okay,
mother
I already
said
got
that
this mapped.
the blood of the innocent would seep into every crevice of the doll, every component with which it was
The
created,
blood of the
and all
innocents.
who touched it would die.
Guilty
She
or
claimed to have summoned
innocence.
a fear demon and
Innocence.
screamed at the top of her lungs, "A parrot will curse you."
A parrot.
The owner simply laughed and told his corporate bosses about Apparat. They spread the joke from person to
Ha
person,
ha
and
ha.
the
I am a
game was
corporate man.
renamed Raprat, a loose
Let's sell
anagram
this
of
cursed toy,
parrot.
shall we? Why,
Each
yes.
recitation of the
Children
name
will love
Apparat
it.
brought with it a
My
greater and greater
my
curse.
daughter.
Only 2 years after
She has
Raprat
that.
was
Oh,
created,
what's the
the
Annabelle
company was
doll?
shut down
Yeah.
and the owners
My
hired a
daughter.
hotel. There were stories of the workers begging for
No.
days off, skipping work for weeks and weeks, finding the puppet in strange places.
Oh my god.
Sooner were the stories of suicides.
Oh
3
no.
violent suicides in which
Oh no.
the workers would stab their hands and burn themselves to death, writing, "I am fear" on the nearest surface in blood.
I am fear.
Nobody knows where the
Not
Raprat
I
doll
am in
went
fear.
after the
I
original
am
creators
fear.
disappeared. Some say that the last thing the victims
That's
saw
pretty
before
fucking metal, dude.
going insane were large, sunken, fish-like eyes. So, some words of warning. Number 1. Never, ever say Apparat out loud. Saying a demon's name out loud is an invitation to them, a calling. If you have already done this, it cannot be undone. Number 2,
You
do not try to
fucking
speak
idiot.
to or contact a parrot.
Nope.
And number 3, avoid being awake at 3:30 a.m. and 4 a.m.
What?
when VRChat is most likely to try to scare you.
Oh, fuck off.
The audio. The VHS is
The audio.
back. I thought I stomped on it, smashed it to Kingdom Come, but it's back. I found it in my sock drawer yesterday. This time, I was ready. A whole bunch
I
of people
wonder
have
if
been contacting
Aurelius
me,
was here
trying
or
to get the
online.
tape or some sort of video
Because
from the
I
board game.
am
My
fucking
answer
scared.
to you is that it's just too dangerous. If I did that, it could
Having all the
very well
back
drive
rooms.
you
Yeah,
insane,
that's totally
scare you
fine.
to death.
Listening to like
The video
age-old
and the game
creepypastas from like
and
2000,
VRChat itself as
like
some sort of
2012,
strange
13.
power.
Now
VRChat follows me
that's scary.
everywhere I go. I see little shadows in the corner or hear sounds coming down the hallway when I'm the only one home. If VRChat is there, I will let you know, but it will never let you see it. Until it's too late, of course.
God damn it.
A lot of people have been watching the normal video from the normal board game. That's
Okay,
the thing.
I'll talk about
can
this
be
after
normal.
this.
It'll trick you into thinking it's just a puppet
It's just
and
a
then
puppet.
stalk you.
It's
day
not
and
just a
night.
puppet. It's a lifestyle. That matched. Whoops. Oh, okay, the video's over. Oh, the next one. The next one is called Barney the Dinosaur. So, like I was saying, when I was typing in, that, I don't trust saying its name now. I guess people actually got a hold of it. It's like the curse. It's real, and I really want to watch that video. But I'll probably watch that later and just keep playing some creepypasta stories. I want to find. Are there re-uploads of Some Ordinary Gamers or Mutahar's old ones? Because who was the one that did the Chuck E. Cheese one? Chuck E. Cheese creepypasta. Because there's a very specific. I saw something terrifying in a Chuck E. Cheese. That's 4 years ago. That's too new. I think it was Some Ordinary Gamers that did it. Krusty the Rat. Krusty Rat. Disney Catacombs. Action Ruby. Ronald McDonald House. Oh, Ronald McDonald House. That one's a fucking classic, dude. Chuck E. Cheese. Maybe it was Some Ordinary Gamers that did it. Some Ordinary Gamers. I gotta remember who. Maybe if I just listen to one. The truth behind Chuck E. Cheese, maybe. Let's see. Does this sound familiar?
Stories about missing teenagers than I did job listings. It was a strange time. My parents didn't want me going out anywhere.
This is very quiet.
Children indoors at all times. It was the sixth missing.
That's too new either. Okay, how about this one? Oh, Mr. Creepson. Mr. Creepson Pasta. This guy's a classic. Maybe this is it? It has that classic music. I think this is it.
Have you ever thought there was something the creators of Chuck E. Cheese were hiding from us all?
Yes.
Or have you ever found something to be off about the place?
Yes.
Even the creepy robotic mascots that danced on stage.
Yes.
I didn't until I found out the truth about Chuck E. Cheese.
He was never.
It all began on the first time I had
A
ever
fucking
visited
rat,
the
dude.
place. I was around the age of 5 or 6, so I of course was pretty ecstatic to go. seeing all those commercials of kids eating pizza and running around without a care in the world, and the arcade games and on the play structure, made me almost get down on my hands and knees to plead and beg my mom to take me.
I wanna go
After
to Chuck E.
finally getting her
Cheese.
to break, she took me. I was the
Ma'am.
happiest kid in the world. My mom drove me over just a few hours before evening, so maybe around 4:30 or so. I almost knocked over the woman at the door who gave you the little stamp on your hand, and running ahead of my mom and bursting through those doors like a maniac child. Eventually, I was stamped
I'm gonna.
and literally
I'm
screeching
running.
as I ran
I'm gonna
around
go piss in the
all the
ball
games
pit.
and play sets. After a bit, I stumbled on over to a game, like whack-a-mole, but with sharks,
Sharkamole.
right by that staff-only room.
I
One
don't know.
shark whacking minute later,
Don't go in there, gamer.
I'd won the game, and before I could squeal in success and collect my tickets,
Squeak.
my ears caught the sound of something very strange going on near the staff-only room. I could hear someone say, "Test number 15 on mutated rat results in angered behavior, such as throwing desk and scientist at the wall." I then began to wonder what in the world they could be talking about.
Herm.
Maybe they were making a new game.
I wonder.
Being so young, I had no idea at all what was actually going on in there. So being curious and feeling a bit interested, I pressed myself against the door and
Curious
listened
cat.
in as carefully as a 6-year-old could. I could hear them snapping at each other. Things like, "What are we going to do with the beast? And get it away from me!" A mumbled shout
Father.
over whoever was in there.
Father,
and
you
replied
created
with a
me.
louder, "We can't just kill that thing."
Father.
The talking stopped. I blinked for a second and pressed myself closer on
I
the door.
fluttered my eyelashes.
I realized that this was a very bad mistake as the door opened from my weight against it. I slipped in, going from leaning on the door to falling face flat on the ground of the staff room.
Dumbass.
Immediately, footsteps trampled over to me, hands grabbed at my arms. I
Throw
was
him in
up
with the
light for
monster.
seconds. And still, I don't know what the hell they did to do that.
Throw him
I
in
woke up slowly,
the pit.
my eyes feeling heavy and my body feeling weak in some kind of interrogation room. A tall man with a serious expression wearing the cleanest white lab coat I'd ever seen began walking towards me out of the blue. Like he knew I'd be awake, like he knew I was awake. His voice was deep,
Hello,
a
child.
little scratchy from what I could tell. And he began to speak.
What did you see?
You know. You know, don't you?
You know about our rats.
No, he said. I was a 6-year-old half knocked out at a Chuck E. Cheese, so I didn't know what they expected from me. I babbled for a second, letting my tongue function correctly. What? I replied dumbly, blinking lazily. He grabbed my arm, making the static feeling intensify somehow. He pulled me a bit, making me whine, though I quickly shut my toddler trap when a loud banging on the door echoed throughout the room. Naturally, me being so young and clueless, I screamed, thrashing around. The man let go of me and snapped at me to shut my mouth.
Shut the fuck up.
It's
Forgetting almost
haunting.
everything, I thrashed around some more. Slipping out of my chair, I kicked my legs going into the corner of the room. I screamed again, banging my foot against something, making a loud metal clang against my foot. I twisted around and whined down at an air vent. I kicked it again out of scared, hot anger. With another loud scream and clang, the metal front door popped off. Again letting out a shriek when I heard the man stomping towards me. Out of the noise of clawing metal and banging, I scooted inside, spitting at him. I was scared half to death. I mean, what was I doing here? Where was my mom? He swiped at me for a second, but quickly
Where
pulled
was
me
your
back.
mom, dude?
There was another loud bang, and the man stepped back. Using my tiny little hands, I grabbed the air vent's door and pulled it back, pressing it on. Just in time, a piercing hiss was followed by a shout from the stranger, and the loudest bang on the door. I clawed back, scooting back into the vent. I had to leave. Even being so young, I knew that I was in
Is that like a
I
Half-Life
hastily
sound effect?
turned around with a bit of struggle, slowly crawling down the vent. A loud manly scream echoed through the vent, being followed by more. They were in unison with the sound of cracking. Tearing. Which I now know was flesh and bone from the stranger. I got out as fast as I could. A small light was around the corner after a few minutes, and I stomped on it. The vent easily popped open. They really weren't paying attention to how tightly they were screwed on, were they? My feet stumbled as I climbed out, but were soon trampling to where I saw my mom last. She was still there with a worried expression on her face. I ran up to her, hugged her tight, my eyes now glazed with wet, hot tears. I wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home. I want to go home, I whined and complained. My mom gave me a strange look, but put a finger on my cheek. You must be tired, sweetheart, she cooed, picking me up. I clenched my small fist, holding tightly onto her shirt. We walked out of the building, me being oh so lovingly carried to the car. A distant whir of sirens became louder and louder, and police cars pulled into the large parking lot and skidded to a halt in front of the once amazing
Sir.
and fun Chuck E. Cheese. My
Sir.
mother almost ran into the car and quickly
Sir.
buckled me into the car
What
seat.
is it, Johnson? We can't find the rat. What?
A couple
We
hours
can't
later,
find the
home
rat,
and
sir.
safe that night. I walked out of my
We're
room
here
to get some
because...
water before I went
Sir,
to bed.
we're here for my
The
daughter's
habit of
birthday.
trying
What
to
the fuck are you
procrastinate so I
talking
didn't
about?
fall asleep. And my mother was watching the news.
What's on the news?
The reporter talking about some kind of mutated rat coming out of Chuck E. Cheese and disappearing down the alleyway.
Oh, you got... You fucking
So what
idiots.
happened to the real Chuck E. Cheese? God only knows. But I will never, and I repeat, never go into any
Hello,
damn Chuck E.
several
Cheese
people.
for as long as I live. And I know never to spy on the staff.
Long story short, don't piss off the staff. They're they're minimally waged to deal with your whiny, blubbering ass. They gotta deal with mutant ratmen. Fucking, that's how Master Splinter happened. That's how Ninja Turtles was created. I don't know why, but that they actually made that a voice actor or like a or a reader can always make something sound like way more terrifying than it actually is, which is nuts. Because because before I was gonna before this played I was gonna say like any of you guys know what I'm talking about when I say like that one Chuck E. Cheese creepypasta where the kid like finds a secret scientist room and they're making like a human version of fucking Chuck E. Cheese and he climbs through a vent like Among Us. And I thought like, oh, that sounds really silly, but now that I listen to it, just the way the guy uses his voice to explain such things, it's really cool. Or it's really well done. Oh boy. I gotta clip the I gotta clip that off. I feel like I'm gonna say right now, just because I know I just added a good chunk. So note to self, ignore this piece. Just go this way. Or maybe that's faster. Probably. Yeah, but I'm not done the wall though. Because I gotta go around. Make sure everything's as it is. More creepypastas, more creepypastas. Non-stop radio horror. I dared my best friend to ruin my life. Little did he know. Little did I know is that he fucking hated me. Uh, how to play hide and seek alone. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I know that one. How to play hide and seek alone. That's the one where you basically grab a doll, you rip it open, you put shit inside it, and then you drown it in a bath, and you go and run and hide. And the only way to finish... The fuck? I guess another anomaly detected. I can't tell if it's broken. I think it's broken. Well, it's an anomaly, so you can't really tell. This is the map of the backrooms. Oh, fuck. This is the map of the backrooms right here. As you can see, we are there. But only every 0.5 seconds we are there. Because it keeps fucking moving. Anyway, like I was saying, how to play hide and seek by yourself. Doll, rip it open, put something inside, drown it, and then run off and go play. And the only way to end it, either it's like, lol, it never ends, you will die, lol again. Where does this go? This is a dead end. No, it is not a dead end. Oh, this goes behind it. Okay. Okay. I just gotta add that little bump down here. Right. Oh shit, that's the eraser. No, that's the line tool. Boom. There we go. Little bump. Little bump. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Lame. Anyway. So, I think, if I'm right, how to play hide and seek alone, it either ends with like, lol, you seriously thought this was a good idea, and you thought like you were gonna get away scot-free. Or it's like you pour salt on it because salt is like the bane of everything that is like evil, basically. Like throughout history, I don't even know throughout history, just throughout the internet, everyone's like, oh, you got demons? Throw salt on it. Oh, you got poltergeist? Throw salt on it. Oh, you got sea bears? Make a ring of salt and stand inside it. Let's find a new creepypasta to listen to. Laughing Jack, Lake City Quiet Pills. The origin of Laughing Cat. Accounts from a lonely broadcast station. That's a newer one, I won't do that one. My family has been stalked. Merry Christmas from the gas station. What? I'm a cinema usher. What is that? Five Nights at Freddy's. Dad jokes. A favor for a favor. That's pretty old, but eh. There's a tomb. Wait, what is this? Oh, this is. Damn it! How old is this? Where's the date? Where's the date? Where's the date? April 19th. Oh, this one's new, but I really like the pictures. Like, there's a tomb beneath your favorite fast food restaurant. Creepypasta story time. You know what? Though I know people despise people watching content because it's not really what I really want to play this because that sounds really funny.
There, kids, it's me, Mr. Creepypasta. And before we get started on tonight's story, I'm going to tell you about a sponsor of tonight's episode. These great sponsors are able to bring you stories that are things like exclusives for the channel or continuing series that you guys like. And
what's your sponsor?
So, hey, it's a very big thank you to HelloFresh. Looking for a spring refresh? Try something new. Take your taste buds on a trip and explore different global flavors from your dinner table with HelloFresh and more.
I'm not sponsored. I just want.
I don't do so well.
I'm not sponsored. I'm just running the ad because I respect Cruz McPasta, and I know this is like a newer video of his.
Keeping for a good while. So once again, you want to be like me?
I just really want to listen to it because it sounds funny.
Then you can use Creepypasta 16. Get those 16 free meals plus
Oh,
3
dude,
surprise gifts across
imagine
6
like getting
HelloFresh
the code
boxes. Plus, there's
creepypasta
free
as
shipping.
as
Take a
a
look at the website down
special like
below,
fucking discount.
hellofresh.com, to be able to start your free trial now. And now, on to tonight's story.
Like how quickly he
My
got.
friend and I were hungry, but collectively broke, so we decided to get some cheap fast food. And for the purpose of our privacy and the safety of our group, I won't share the name of the restaurant in question, but I'm sure you can guess which one I'm talking about. Right when we got
McDee's.
there, Amanda, the girlfriend of my friend Carter, said that she needed to use the bathroom and order for her. She always got the same thing, so it was no problem. And when it was our turn in line, we placed our order and went to stand off to the side. After a few minutes, Amanda came speed walking out, looking as if she'd seen a ghost in the toilet. Silently, but wildly, she beckoned for us to come to the bathroom with her. Carter had started to laugh, but Amanda's increasing hysterics drove him to at least stifle his humor. Jessica, the last of our group, and my girlfriend was the first to accept Amanda's strange invitation, knowing that our massive order would take a while to complete. I followed them. I heard Carter's footsteps trailing behind me as I rounded the corner that led to the bathrooms. Still keeping her panicked silence, Amanda led us down the short hall to the unisex bathroom, which she'd apparently had to use due to the woman's being out of order. She pushed the door open, motioning for us to all go inside. After checking to make sure that no one had followed, entered behind us, quickly closing and locking the door. The room was as normal as any public restroom, with its plain white walls, its faint scent of chemical cleaner, combined with an even fainter scent of use. There was only one basic toilet without any stall walls to conceal it, and one accompanying sink. A floor mat sat just below the sink, bearing a faded floral pattern and the words, "Wash away your troubles," on its surface. Bunched inside the small room, we all looked at Amanda.
There's a sign that says "Wash your balls."
And after a moment spent regaining her composure, she finally pointed to the floor mat and said, "Look under it." Seeing as how it was a public bathroom and no one was eager to touch anything that had been on the floor for who knows how long, finally, after a few failed attempts,
Don't forget to wash your foreskin, Luigi.
To get others to do the deed. Jessica bit the bullet and pulled away the mat with her fingers. Beneath the mat was a panel of some kind, of a different material than the tiled floor around it. There were 2 small brass knobs on the panel, like handles to a trap door. Due to the thickness of the floor mat and how the panel actually rested slightly below the floor level, they'd been undetectable. "Nice find, Amanda," Carter, now intrigued, clapping his girlfriend on the back, but Amanda, still somewhat unsettled, shook her head disapprovingly and responded, "Look inside."
It's kind of crypt
Carter
underneath
knelt
fucking
and
Nicky
gripped the 2
D's.
small knobs. After a confirming glance towards Amanda, he pushed, opening the panel. All of us, except Amanda, of course, gasped in surprise. There was a long tunnel below the open panels, a ladder leading down into it, but it wasn't an ordinary ladder. Both the frame and rungs were yellow, cracked. The one hand and footholds haphazardly fitted into crudely segmented frames. The ladder was made of bone.
Bone.
Despite the grisly structure before
How
him,
the fuck
Carter's
did you
grin
figure that
widened,
out?
and without any kind of preamble, he gripped the topmost rung and began his descent into
He
the
gripped the
subterranean
bones.
tunnel. Jessica was the next to follow, and when Amanda saw me positioning myself to go third, she finally broke her spell of silence and asked what the hell we were doing. Calling up from the tunnel, Carter said with complete casualness, "Amanda, there's a tunnel in the bathroom. We have to check it out." I felt similarly, and I'm sure Jessica did as well. Left with no
Imagine if it
choice
just
but
goes to the
follow,
fucking
Amanda
sewer.
came along,
Like,
whimpering
great.
as she gripped the bony
Now
rung.
we'd probably have 3 different types of diseases.
After a slow downward climb of maybe 20 or 30 seconds, we reached a darkly cavernous space. The walls were mushy, damp,
Ugh.
convulsive.
Like a sewer.
The interior of a choking person's throat. Carter put his hand on one and smeared the surface, leaving a long swath in the dark pink substance.
Ugh.
It was obvious that if you applied enough force, you could probably pass through the walls, but None of us were eager to try. The corridors squelched and squirted, making us all bunch together closely.
The lights flicker?
Despite the awkwardness of doing so, no one wanted to be pressed upon or even grazed by the living, leaking walls. Disgusted, but almost morbidly curious, we continued on towards the
Oh,
deepening
that's me
darkness.
just moving. Okay.
My key fob's light, our sole source of illumination. Everyone's phones had, upon entering the flesh cave, suddenly
Flesh.
and
They
inexplicably
know exactly what the fuck they got
died.
themselves into.
The corridor narrowed as we went on, and the walls became further dampened, as if we were truly entering the interior of some living body. Eventually, we had to file one by one into a long, tremulous hall, and everyone, including myself, groaned and whimpered, or even retched, as our bodies came upon unwanted contact with the wetly quivering surfaces. Fortunately, this narrow passageway led into an open chamber, but unfortunately, this chamber was even more grotesque, more sickening than the preceding area. It was a circular room, and of course, every surface was flesh-covered, slick with strange fluid, and trembling violently. Unlike the tunnel,
This is
the
definitely
walls
a
were emitting
Goosebumps
a faint
book.
red light of their own, some sort of hidden bioluminescence. Lying about the room, arranged in a circular fashion against the walls, were slabs of meat, or what appeared to be meat. Carter approached the nearest one to our left, with Amanda begrudgingly in tow. Since she had been tightly holding onto his arm throughout the entire dreadful journey, leaning in close, he examined the slab and even poked it with his hand. The same hand
It
that had
sprayed on
smeared the
its
crumbly
face.
wall. Weirdly, the surface didn't give as much as the wall had. Carter had to exert considerable force to make an impression. Solid, at least compared to the walls, like a box. His
It's
voice was,
alive.
despite the circumstance, fairly relaxed and almost joyous. No, not like a box. Look, there's a break in the surface near the top. It's not like a box, it's like a coffin. Amanda's voice had appropriately stuttered, in tone with the mounting discomfort
Are
we
you
all assuredly felt.
insane?
She was right. There was a break in the surface as if the slab had a lid. Looking around, I saw that the other slabs were all similarly segmented at the top. Upon seeing that, Carter intended to open the slab. Amanda let go of his arm and came to stand by me. Jessica, who'd been quiet the entire trip, suddenly spoke up, saying, "If they're coffins, and the walls are alive, you don't think the occupants could be alive too, do you?" Carter's hand stopped in progress towards the coffin lid.
Poke the coffin.
He looked around.
Go
He was
ahead.
nervous.
Poke the flesh coffin.
6 coffins in total, and Jessica's cryptic implication made me realize just how large the coffins were. How they could seemingly hold multiple beings in each, or one massive thing.
Oh, what the fuck?
Well,
Oh.
if they're anything like the place they inhabit, I doubt they'll pose much of a threat. With that self-assuring comment, Carter grabbed the crimson lid and pushed it forward. The lid slid away with a sound too abhorrent to
Yeah,
describe,
this
and a
definitely has to
haze
be
like the
longer.
stinking fume of hot meatiness wafted up from the coffin's interior. We all shrank back, all except Carter, who actually leaned in, anxious to get a look at whatever was inside.
Carter
When the
put this
funk
all
cleared,
together.
as much as it would, considering the environment, we all returned. Our curiosities too intrigued to stay away for long. Inside, reposing exactly like a coffin-lid corpse, was a giant cadaver, seemingly composed of meat. Its general figure was that of a man, albeit a massive one.
A
And
clown.
its utterly faceless head, bulbously crowned with a square jaw, constituted a great portion of the upper area. The temples touched both sides of the interior. The body was not as broad, but still larger than that of any man. And the body, it was beyond hideous. It was as if a man had been skinned and the raw pink flesh beneath somehow inflamed to become a sort of armor.
What the
Subdermal
fuck?
musculature was apparent, but everything seemed somehow wrong compared to the anatomy of a human. The shoulders and the chest were seemingly merged, as if they'd been unnaturally fused in some horrible mutation or
Creeps, what the
forced
fuck are you talking about?
experimentation. The arrangement of its abdominal muscles were diamond-shaped, tapered in the upper and
Diamond?
lower ends. The groin was indescribably malformed. It was a juggernaut of grotesquerie, and the accompanying stench, not of putrefaction, but something worse, burned my nostrils and limited the amount of time I could spend
It's
gazing
chloric
directly
acid.
at it. Finally, having gotten my sick fill of the abominable thing, I turned away and I looked to the other coffins, wondering if they had held similarly awful things, or things somehow worse. But before I could think to investigate them, a sound floated into the room
It
from out of
woke
the
up.
corridor, alerting us to the approach of someone else. I'll never forgive Carter for his next comment. His next unimaginable suggestion, even though it probably saved all of our lives. As the sounds of someone pushed through the throat-like tunnel grew louder, Carter glanced around grimly and then said, "We have to get inside the coffins.
Get into the
There's
coffin.
more than enough to house all of us, but I think it'll be best if we double up, just in case whoever's coming intends to have a peek inside one. It'll lower our chances of being discovered."
Get in the coffin, Shinji.
There wasn't any time to protest. Even though I really wanted to, Amanda, terror-stricken, wrapped her arms around Carter, practically driven mad by the idea. Jessica, her polar opposite, led me towards the rightmost coffin and pushed away the flesh lid.
Flashlight.
Inside was a veritable clone of the other entity, a giant of gruesomely exposed and bizarrely warped flesh. Jessica
Go
crawled
ahead,
inside
cuddle with the
first, and
entity.
the sound of the meat accompanying
Cuddle
weight
with the Flesh Knight.
turned my stomach. Stealing myself against the awful funk, I climbed
Like
into
this stream if you would cuddle with the Flesh Knight.
Shut the coffin lid, sealing us inside. A few moments later, the sound of someone pushing through the final narrow passageway echoed into the charnel chamber, and I began listening intently with my
Kids.
ear pressed against the inner wall
Children.
of the coffin.
Come out.
Jessica, lying somewhat beneath and beside me, listened with hers pressed against the opposite wall. Thankfully, sensibly, we'd climbed in so that our heads were at the foot of the interred man. Its globe-like head would have surely crowded the space. Outside the coffin, I heard someone walking around, presumably inspecting the area. I wasn't sure if they were searching for us, or merely performing some routine check of the infernal chamber. After a few more moments, during which their footsteps echoed with surprising clarity, there was an all-too-familiar sound. The sound of one of the coffins being opened. With my fingers crossed, I prayed they hadn't opened Amanda and Carter's. Listening for any sounds of horror or struggle, I took a breath and held it, and heard Jessica do the same. When a few seconds of silence had passed, I came to the conclusion that Carter and Amanda's coffin had not been opened. My dread subsided a little. "We should peek out and see what they're doing," Jessica whispered.
No, you fucking
Jessica's
idiot.
whisper had been faint, but within the coffin's interior was surprisingly audible. And a brief panic arose in me, but after a breathless moment, no sounds that might have suggested that we'd been discovered. After taking a breath, I responded, "Are you crazy? What if they see us? Or hear the lid moving?"
Yeah, you fucking
"Watch,
idiot.
I'm sure I can move it without making a sound." Carter was just too
Yeah, it's gonna
forceful
make
to
like
move.
loud concrete sound even
Before
though
I
it's
could
flesh.
protest, she had placed her hand on the lid's ceiling and was gently pushing forward, inching it along. After a few seconds, there was a slit rim, and we could just barely see
It's
through the opening
Greek.
into the nightmarish room beyond. Across the room, just beside the coffin Carter and Amanda had climbed
It's
into,
the
was a
scratching
man.
of bones.
And not just a man, but an employee of the restaurant we'd entered on the surface level.
Excuse me, what the fuck?
Despite the environment, his uniform was clean, it was dry, adherent to the establishment's dress code. He had peered into the coffin to the right of Carter's and was holding a large dish of some kind in one hand. With the other, he was scooping out portions of meat, crudely excising them from the body therein. I involuntarily gagged, and Jessica pinched the back of my neck, urging me to be quiet. For what seemed like hours, we watched the man remove chunks and bits from the body until the dish was finally terribly full. A mountain of porous crimson rising from its base. When it could hold no more without the threat of its contents spilling over, he set the dish on the floor, closed the coffin lid.
Why not get a bowl or a bucket,
and
you
picked up
fuck?
the dish again. Without a second glance, without having suspected the tomb be occupied by anything other than the loathsome giants, he left the room. We waited a few moments until the sounds of his departure finally died out, and then emerged from our hiding spot. Not a second later, Carter and Amanda did the same, and both came out gagging and shaking. From the looks of it, they had crawled with their heads beside the occupants. Did you guys see that? Carter's face had lost its boyish confidence, now having a pallor more befitting the sepulchral circumstances. Amanda was similarly white, though tears streaked her face. I immediately understood why Carter was so uncharacteristically distraught. The fact, the reason for why the employee had come down didn't need to be openly stated, but I said it anyway just to get it out there. This is where the meat comes from. My voice sounded hollow, lifeless in the
Fleshlights.
dismally echoing
Wait.
chamber. We all stood in
Did
silence
I just
for a
say
moment.
that?
The gravity of the situation, the horrid
What the
revelation
fuck?
chilling into our cores. We had all at one
Flesh
time or another
Knights, you
eaten at the
fucking
restaurant.
idiot.
Carter plenty of times, Amanda nearly as many, since she'd usually go with him. The food had always been at least decent, even really good on certain
Stuff
occasions,
like
but
that
no one
makes
could
me
have imagined
paranoid
its
of what
unspeakable
I
origins.
may or may not say.
Suddenly, Jessica's disposition changed, and I saw a flicker of hope in her reddened eyes. Wait, there are only 6 coffins, and hundreds of people visit this restaurant every day. There's no way they've been feeding people the flesh of these things this whole time. This has to be a recent thing, some desperate measure or new experiment. The room seemed to grow a little brighter at the hopeful prospect. Wondering just how much the employee had taken from the corpse, I went over to its coffin and pushed open the lid, but the sight inside made me recoil. And the small amount of hope I'd mustered was quickly blasted away, leaving me even more despondent and sickened than before. The corpse was regenerating. It already regenerated
I knew
most
it.
of the portions taken from its torso. The others joined me, and all
I
in
haven't-
turn reeled
I don't
and
think
shrank
I've been
away
on this
in
side of the
moods of
back
plummeting.
rooms.
Silently, we returned the room to its former state,
Is that SCP music?
and we left the chamber. We re-entered the tunnel, not bothering to shield ourselves from the convulsing walls, and exited the tomb.
This place is
When everyone
fucking...
had climbed
Oh,
up the
you gotta
ladder
be
with its
shitting me.
rungs of bone, I covered the entrance with the floor and walked
Fuck
away.
off.
Simultaneously, all our faces came to life again.
This is one of the big
We
corners
passed on
of the
front
back
counter. One
rooms,
of
and
the
I
employees
gotta
called out saying,
fucking...
"Oh, hey guys, your order's ready." Amanda took one look at the stack of fresh burgers and vomited onto the floor. She muffled out some half apology and then shuffled off towards the exit. Without any word, the rest of us followed.
Okay, that was kind of funny. That was really funny at the end. Hey guys, your order's ready. I wonder if, like, that guy was, like, paid I bet that fucker was still paid minimum wage. Like, hey, okay, the best we can pay you is, like, $10 an hour, okay? Just do the rest. Clean the ice cream machine so it never works. Scrub the floors. Go into the crypt to get more meat. You know, the usual. Hand of God. What does that remind me of? Hand of... I will quickly find something to watch. I may recommend one called The Meat Man. These are all like 6. What is this? Toader's Maze. That's pretty fitting for what I'm doing, for what we're doing. This one's 7 years old, I think it said. Let's see.
There aren't a lot of advantages to
2014.
being the sole teaching assistant
This
in a
stuff
small
is fucking
computer
carbon
science department.
dated.
Except that once in a while the professors are nice enough to unload a
Also,
bunch of
hello,
content
8
for you
people.
for free.
I'm glad,
Maybe they're cleaning out
or
their
I hope you're
offices for
enjoying
the
this.
first time in decades,
The ramblings of a
and have
madman
a
listening
few
to
Macintosh
creepypastas while
appliances that
napping on the backrooms.
would otherwise end up in the dumpster. Sometimes the department gives them new tablets, and their old ones need a new home. Or someone retires and everything not absconded with, for nostalgia's sake, becomes fair game for scavenging, courtesy of the faculty's generosity. I have a bunch of old computers, disk drives, motherboards, and virtually any other computer part or accessory you can imagine kicking around my apartment. Tinkering with dated machines can be a great deal of fun. You can practice soldering without having to worry about flushing a bunch of money down the drain if you accidentally brick your machine. When you pull them apart, you might find so-called upgrades from years past that seem genuinely laughable now, like the 32 kilobyte deluxe memory expansion card I once yanked from a 1995 laptop. And let's not forget the charm of obsolete archival media. Remember the zip disk? No? Figures. Well, even if you're not a tech geek like me, you can at least appreciate the best part of my perk system. Discovering ancient computer games that nobody else remembers, and actually having the
Like
wherewithal to
Helios.
play them. Cleaning out offices or browsing through forgotten hard drives, I've
If he
stumbled
name
upon
drops
games
Helios, that
that
would be funny.
I've never seen archived anywhere on the internet. Some of them even existed before my parents did, and I've been able to play every last one. You can't pretend to know gaming
Whoops.
until you've played something on a
Whoops.
legitimately floppy disk. Anyway, since I'm given first dibs on any abandoned tech, the department let me raid the office of some adjunct whose name I never quite learnt, not having interacted with him all that
It's
much,
Satan.
who must have followed through with his
El
vows to
Diablo.
quit his overworked and underpaid position. I don't blame him. I heard he made less than I did, and I don't hold a degree nearly as advanced as his. Whatever the reason, Sussman, or Horseman, I can't remember, didn't return
Sussman.
for the spring semester,
Hmm.
and didn't leave us any
Sauce.
way of reaching him, so a couple of
Emogus.
weeks into the semester, after the
Funny.
faculty
Please
felt
be funny.
reasonably sure he wasn't coming back, they provided me with a key to his office, and granted me free rein to swipe whatever I found. I let myself in the second I had a free moment one night after classes, when my teaching assignment was taken care of for the day, and the rest of the department had long since headed home. The building was dark by the time I arrived, but the motion sensor lights fired up once I set foot inside, flickering into existence one by one as
Alright.
I made my way down the
This
hallway.
is what we're gonna do.
The adjunct's office didn't have a nameplate on it.
Oops.
I'm told few
Hang on.
adjuncts even had offices, for that matter. Consequently, I
This is what
found a
we're gonna
closed
do.
room only after I tried and failed to open an unmarked broom closet with
Perfect.
my new key.
I have no
The
idea
adjunct's
where
office
the fuck this goes.
might as well have been a broom closet, though. It was barely larger than a bathroom stall. On top of that, it didn't have any windows, and
Hallways,
the
fun
only light came
hallways,
from a
fun
single,
hallways, fun hallways,
dingy,
fun hallways, fun
incandescent
hallways, fun hallways,
bedroom from
fun
the ceiling.
hallways.
It didn't have a light switch
Fun
either, so
hallways.
I had to fumble around in the darkness until I could tug its pull cord. No wonder the poor guy quit. Who could be expected to work well under such conditions? Once the dirty light washed over the place, I could see everything that Professor What's-His-Name left behind. It looked pretty
Professor
unremarkable to me
Satan.
at first glance. He'd somehow coerced the desk into the cramped space and found a chair to join it. Both of them wobbled at the
Oh,
slightest touch.
I pressed C. I'm like,
A
oh,
bulky
the
cathode
floor is lava
monitor
now.
occupied most of the desk's surface, while a keyboard and mouse perched on what space was left in front of it. Shoved into a corner, a stack of coding textbooks had begun to gather a thin layer of dust. One sight struck me as pretty odd, though. A cup of coffee, still almost entirely full, had been set beside the chair and evidently forgotten.
He made it for you.
Nothing interested
Drink
me
up.
right away, so I rifled through the desk's drawers in search of something worth taking. Pens and pencils clattered inside, rolling off piles of coffee-stained lecture notes and small hoards of second-hand office supplies. In short, nothing worth the effort. Which came as no great surprise. I'd expected that, if I were to find my prize here, it would be the desktop tower the adjunct had neglected to take with him. So that's exactly what I went for. The monitor's cord trailed behind the desk, leading me to a grimy but sturdy-looking Dell that still had a 3.5-inch floppy drive installed. I didn't have a shortage of floppy drives or anything, but I decided to swipe the machine anyway. You can never have enough spare hardware after all. Besides, I wanted to scope out what kinds of
The fuck?
files the adjunct kept on that computer. Sometimes that's where the real treasure lies. The hour had grown late by the time I returned home, but I couldn't resist staying up a bit longer to pursue my
Oops.
new
Oh, it's
acquisition's
1.
contents. I hooked the computer up to one of my flat screen monitors, introduced the keyboard and mouse, plugged it into the power outlet, and went to the fridge to retrieve a high caffeine soda while I waited for the machine to boot up. Once I came back, a green glow had saturated the screen, dousing my keyboard and desk in its sickly colours. The
Welcome
usual
to the
boot dialogues
Matrix.
for a late 80s OS appeared, written in green, low pixel characters. That's
Green.
strange, I thought. Most early operating systems and programs only locked green because of the monitor they used. The visuals themselves, under the ideal circumstances, were simply black and white. And my current monitor was pretty close to ideal. I figured it was probably a custom OS, coded to look green for nostalgia's sake, like that word processor Darkroom. I found it strange that the adjunct hadn't locked his computer with a password, but I was too excited to buy my new toy to think too much about it. The OS had a GUI
I'm gonna have
comparable
to
to the
shorten like
oldest
all
Apple
these fucking
offerings,
down once I
so
start
I had no trouble
having shit out.
navigating it. To my astonishment, the icon for the floppy drive indicated that a disk had been inserted. How had I missed that when I first inspected the computer? Sure enough, the ejector button in the tower protruded like something had been placed inside. I poked it and out popped a deep red floppy disk. I slid it into my hand.
It was
A
Doom.
label on the disk's front side, written in black marker with the most compact penmanship I'd ever seen, read simply, Tota's Maze. Was it a game?
Doom.
If it was, I'd never heard of it. But then again, I was always unearthing titles I'd never heard of before in my office excavations. Maybe it was a personal project the adjunct had been developing. But when's that title? Programmers name things after themselves all the time, but this one seemed foreign to me. I couldn't have told you the adjunct's name, but I felt confident it wasn't Tota. By that point,
Toto.
my curiosity couldn't be restrained. I slid the disk into its drive and ran the single executable file it contained.
Toto's Africa's Maze.
The mouse cursor turned into
Isn't
an
there like
hourglass as
a
the computer
isn't there like an
processed
art
the
piece
command.
where they put
Then,
an
for no more
actual
than a
like
millisecond, it
USB
transformed into a
player
completely different
player
shape.
set up to like
I could have sworn it looked like
a
a terribly
a
distorted
USB player
face, but
set up
I
to
didn't catch a
a
close enough
solar
glimpse,
panel
because
that plays
shortly
nothing but
thereafter,
Toto
the
Africa
screen went black.
for like ever.
A second or
Like
two
somewhere
later,
in the desert.
blocky green text,
I
quickly arranged.
fucking oh I fucking scared myself. The video the window of the video of the creepypasta, I looked down to see. I guess I looked at OBS and it was kind of peeking out at the bottom, and just fucking green text slowly creeps up. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen that in OBS before, but no, it's just the video. Fuck. Holy shit. I shouldn't be doing this.
Changed the ASCII style to look as if it were dripping or melting, filled the screen. Tota's Maze. appeared in gigantic font with a single red dot punctuating the center of the O, resembling a pupil caught in a camera flash. Beneath the title, a substantially smaller font presented me a binary command. Begin? Yes or no? Messing with the arrow keys,
Warning,
I
pressing
found I could
yes
move the
may
red
cause
dot
death.
around, but that
I'm
may
seriously going
never be
all around
applied
the
to that
fucking
window.
map, aren't I?
I
Another couch
appreciated this
detected.
simple diversion that the programmer had
Save
thought to include.
save your game,
It
stay at
showed
the
some
couches.
consideration for the player. Wondering what the rest of the game entailed, I hit the Y key. The screen again went black, save for the O with the red dot. Small green letters began to appear one after another, with seconds-long intervals between them,
How fucking
as
big
if
is
they
this?
simulated someone making a tentative remark. Eventually, they finished spelling their message. Are you sure? Yes or no?
Are
What a
you
bizarre
ready?
feature, I thought. Usually you save
Ready
something like
for
that
a
for
rematch?
qualifications, so that users don't accidentally lose all their progress from a botched keystroke. The unexpected dialogue only made me more
Does that go
curious.
somewhere?
I pressed Y. At that point, the small letters erased themselves one by one, saving my Y for last. Then the large
Maybe
O
do
disappeared.
I have to go
The
fucking
red dot
backwards?
stayed for a moment
Wait, there's
before it
more?
too disappeared. I was left with another black screen. Soon, some text seemed to float up from the blackness, like bubbles rising from a deep pond. Level 1.
This
Then the
is
text
all
seemed to sink
one
out of view.
fucking connected
After it disappeared,
piece.
a bunch of angular green lines
Does it
played
end?
themselves
Yes,
into
it does.
existence, forming a kind of labyrinth that looked
I
like a simplified view of
just
an intestinal
scuffed. I
tract.
won't count that as an
It
anomaly,
wasn't
though.
much of a maze, though. There was only one route available, no branching paths, no dead ends. The red dot from the title screen waited at one
I swear to
end,
God, the
and
background
a
music
blue
of this
dot of a
creepypasta, it
slightly
sounds like
smaller size
fucking
resided
modem
at the
dial-up,
other.
but like
I
creepy.
presumed that I controlled the red one, and I was right. I could navigate the red dot with the arrow keys. I moved at a much brisker pace than I had expected. If I drove into one of the
Dude, it
green
fucking
lanes and
is,
stopped
totally.
moving,
Because they're
then there
playing
was no
like
penalty if I
beans.
did. I suppose there was no objective other than to reach the blue dot.
Hello,
So
9
I
people.
started
Welcome
guiding
to
the red
me.
dot toward it.
Rant and
When the
very
two dots finally touched,
just stupidly
the movement
comment on
simply
this
faded away. The rest of the
creepypasta.
level followed suit, and the red dot
While I map
disappeared
out the
last.
back rooms,
The text
and
reading
so far I'm
level
hating
2
it because this
emerged from
is
the
one
blackness, as if
singular
emerging from liquid,
fucking piece,
exactly like I'd
and it's
seen from
gonna
the
map.
previous level. It seemed
I really just
anticlimactic
want
to me,
to call and go
but
back
then
to where I
nobody
was.
plays games like this for
Because I'm gonna have
cutscenes
to
and
like
story.
shrink this and fill
I
that in and
figured the
fill this
difficulty
in
would amp
just
up
to
at
make sure it's all
least,
the right
and
size.
perhaps make for a more entertaining
You know, I'm
experience.
gonna do that.
The second level proved no more challenging. It drew a square that took up half the screen. The red
Blue
and blue dots
equals.
both appeared
Please
inside,
fix. Or
on
please
opposite
finish.
corners. There were no obstacles.
Please finish.
By no stretch of the imagination could it be called a maze. It seemed
Whoops.
Tota had used all of his or her imagination on the title screen. Needless to say, the level didn't take me long.
Because I'll
Curiously,
do something
the
else instead
vignette
of. Because
animation was
usually
a little different this
what I
time.
would usually do
Instead of
is map out
fading out
the
right when I
entirety
touched it,
of an
the
area
blue
that's all
dot
connected, so
disappeared
it
line
perfectly
by
loops
line.
around. But
Each successive section
because
seemed
because
absorbed
this
into the
takes
red
up
dot as it vanished.
most a
It
stupid
seemed
fucking chunk and it
really
goes even
fluid compared to
further,
everything else in
what
the
I'm gonna
level.
do instead
The next few stages began as usual, and
is
had
stop it
designs
there
equally as
and fill
inspired as the
everything
first
in
two.
so I can
A basic
fuck with the
50
size and
rectangle,
whatnot
a
here.
long
Because I don't know
rectangle
if this is
black
long
as the
enough or too
first,
short.
a straight line barely wider than the red
Or too
dot I
short or too
controlled,
long.
leaving me
And fill
no
all this
option
shit
but to
in.
move in one direction toward the blue dot. All that changed was the animation at the end. Sometimes the blue dot seemed to dissolve. Others, it cleaved in two
Whoops.
before disappearing. In one particularly arresting instance, the top quarter of the blue dot seemed to be lopped off. landing
What
beside
time
the
is
duck's
it?
remains.
It's only
Then
been an hour,
vanishing
but
like the
I feel like calling it for tonight. I'm a bit tired. To all 8, 9-ish people that dropped in, I hope you enjoyed. I'll definitely attempt to do this way more often. Three streams in a week. That's a new record for me, a new personal record. Though I'll try and make them a bit longer. It's just I need to keep focus, and maybe just the idea of just mapping so much shit out in one night overwhelms me. I don't know, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a good night. See ya.